So I left a toxic job and a toxic relationship about 2.5 years ago when I was 54. And these 10 habits are small, but they were instrumental in helping me to rebuild my life and heal my nervous system. And the difference is like night and day. I feel like I'm almost unrecognizable from the person that I was, and I bet they can help you too. Hello, I am Tess, and my channel is all about helping women over 45 reinvent themselves and live their best damn lives. So if that sounds like you, hit subscribe. So this first one is a little bit controversial, but I can almost guarantee that if you stop doing this, then it will make a big difference in healing your nervous system. So the first habit is I stopped watching the news. So the pushback is always, I want to stay informed and I want to know what's going on. And I get that, and that's exactly why I kept watching the news as well. But there is a cartoon from the New Yorker that really sums this up, but it basically said, my desire to stay well informed is directly at odds with my desire to stay sane. I was watching the news, and every time it would give me this incredible sense of anxiety. But at the end of the day, I chose my sanity. My sanity is way more important than needing to stay informed. And you know what? I still am informed. The news winds up getting to me in one way or another. If it's important enough, it will wind up making its way to me. I know what's going on out there. I know that the world is kind of a shit show in a dumpster fire. It's a hot mess right now. I know that. But I don't need to know every single little detail about what happens. I don't need to hear everyone's tweet about it. I don't need to hear everybody's take on it, because that just drives me nuts. Like literally. And here's the other thing that I know. The news is always negative. That is by design, because the news is a business. It wants to get clicks and it wants to get views, and negative news gets more views. So I got my master's in communications, and I remember in my journalism class, we had a news director come in and speak to the class, and he said, the news is entertainment. What we're gonna publish is negative news, because that is what gets the views. Positive news doesn't get the views. If it did, that's what we would publish, but that's not what works. So I'm just filling my brain with all this negativity, and then what that does is it elevates your cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So you're gonna be in this constant state of agitation and anxiety. So I unfollowed all news accounts from my social media, and I don't go on to news websites or turn on the news or anything. I wanna protect my brain. I don't want to be feeding it all that crap all the time. My goal is to protect my mental health, and that actually leads me to number 9 perfectly, is a perfect segue, which is prioritizing my mental health. So my mental health was in a very bad state. I was constantly burnt out, and I suffered from anxiety and depression. There was a point where I really considered checking myself into a facility because it had gotten so bad. Luckily, I sought therapy, and I had a great therapist named Donna. I love her. And she told me to ask myself one question with every decision that I make and every action that I do, which is, does this move me toward better mental health or worse mental health? So at work, this was before I left my job, I started saying no to certain projects because that would put more stress on my mental health, or projects for friends. I wanted to help them, but I made my mental health a priority. So I would say no a lot more. I set more boundaries and just chose very carefully what I put my energy into. And by making that my goal, making that kind of my number 1 priority at that time, helped me to make choices that would heal me. And eventually it did. Now, number 8 is a little bit lighter, literally, because it is getting sunlight in the morning, right after I wake up. So getting exposure to sunlight first thing in the morning helps to get sunlight into your retinas. And this is really helpful for your circadian rhythm and for sleep, for insomnia, helping with insomnia, which, my ladies in menopause, we all have that, right? If you don't, I'm very envious. But yeah, sleep can be very elusive when you're over 45. Getting outside and getting that exposure to sunlight right away helps to reset your sleep cycle. So it tells your brain it is morning time, this is the start of the day, and then 12 hours later, it starts to produce melatonin in your body. And that is the sleep hormone that helps you sleep. So I love going outside. I go out into my little patio right after I get out of bed, after I make my smoothie actually, and I just take a big stretch and I take some deep breaths, and it actually just feels good. And speaking of my morning routine, there's another thing that I always do, which is movement, daily movement. And I start with yoga. I start the day with yoga, 20 minutes a day. I just do it at home. I don't go to a class or anything. I turn on YouTube and go to Yoga with Adrienne. She's my girl. I love her. And it makes me feel so much better. Even if yoga isn't your thing, try to go for a walk. And it doesn't have to be in the morning necessarily. So I usually do yoga in the morning and for 20 minutes. And then later in the day, I might go for a walk because I might need some cardio or something. I'll take a walk, or maybe I'll do Pilates, also on YouTube. Move with Nicole is my favorite. And then yesterday I even just did a little dance party. I did like a 30-minute dance party. I turned on Pandora, I turned on Black Sheep Radio, or maybe it was LL Cool J radio. But yeah, it was something retro, hip hop, and I just went to town. Whatever you can do, it's just gonna help your body and your brain function so much better. Okay, now the next one, I think we're on number 6, is I talked about insomnia before, and this one is actually just not fighting insomnia. I mean, I definitely had that, and I would lie in bed tossing and turning and just, getting really upset about it too, because it's like I tried to go to sleep and then I couldn't go to sleep, or I wake up in the middle of the night and I couldn't go back to sleep. That was usually what it was. And I would be so agitated over it. And that just made the insomnia worse, because now you're stressed about not sleeping. And so your brain is going and it's just like, oh, I got to go to sleep. Oh, I got to work in the morning. I got to do this. I don't want to be tired all day. And it wouldn't help. It definitely wouldn't help me get back to sleep. In fact, it made it worse. So now I just don't fight it. I usually, if I can't sleep for like 30 to 45 minutes or so, I will get up and I will turn on a nature documentary and watch that, or I'll read, or just maybe I'll do even a little yoga in bed sometimes. And this is not recommended by anybody. In fact, everyone recommends against this, but I will actually pick up my phone and start playing Candy Crush. I don't do anything else on my phone, only Candy Crush. And I know that the blue light is bad, and I know that, you're not supposed to use your phone, but playing that game just helps me kind of zone out, and it gets my brain away from, that thinking spiral, because I'm focusing on the game. So I do that just to quiet my thoughts. I know that might not be the best advice, but that it is something that I do truly. But the other ones are really better, just the reading or watching something boring. But honestly, I just accept, okay, I'm not sleeping, and I don't stress out about it anymore, because like I said, it doesn't help, and it just makes things worse. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not sleeping. I'm going to be tired tomorrow. I'll deal with that. And I've dealt with it before, and I'm fine. And usually it actually helps me go to sleep because I'm not worried about it. Okay, now number 5 is the one that might make you think I'm a little bit cuckoo. But before I get to that, I just want to say real quick, if you are a woman over 45 who is trying to reinvent her life, then I invite you to download my download my Midlife Reinvention Starter Kit. This is a helpful step-by-step guide that will help you get unstuck and give you a roadmap to building a life that you really love. And it's totally free, so you can download it at the link below. Okay, so number 5 is I made my brain my bestie. Okay, so this is how it started. So there is common advice that you should treat yourself as your own best friend, because a lot of the times we are really, really hard on ourselves and we say mean things to ourselves. But instead, what you want to do is be your own best friend. And that is really great in theory, but I had a lot of trouble kind of doing that in practice. So what I did was create a character for my brain and give her a name. And her name is B for brain, which is not that creative, I know, but hey, it works. And I have this image of her in my mind. She kind of looks like a cloud with big eyes and kind of stick arms and stick legs. I'll try to draw a picture and pop her up on the screen. There she is. Hey, B. But I made her my best friend, and I actually talk to her all the time. So especially if I'm kind of spiraling, or I'm feeling low, or I just need someone to talk to, I will picture B and I'll say something like, hey, B, so what's going on? Why are we feeling so low right now? Why are we just beating ourselves up? Well, there was that client who left that really negative comment about how, this wasn't really relevant, and asked if he was being punked, and that was super rude, and it really made me upset. And then I'll say, yeah, I get that. That sucks. That guy was a dick. but there are hundreds of other clients that we had that were really, really happy with our work. So we can't let this one guy get us down. In fact, his prior work shows that he has really bad taste and doesn't know what he's talking about. And then B will say, you know what, you're right. Thanks, this guy's an asshole. Why do we care? But it helps me to stop and process my feelings and feel like I'm on my own side, which is what we want. Because the opposite, when we berate ourselves, that's really damaging. So honestly, making my brain my bestie was one of the best habits I adopted, and it's something I still do. Ah, there's a bunny over there. Hi, bunny. Okay, so number 4 is a classic. This one I'm sure you've heard of, but it is worth mentioning because it honestly made a huge difference in my life. This is something I do every day. Actually, this is the first thing I do in the morning before I get out of bed even, which is meditation and breath work, deep breathing. Meditation, there's so many scientific benefits for helping to calm anxiety, help to regulate your sleep, help with creativity, help with memory. This is really a life-changing thing. When you meditate, it puts your brain in what's called a theta state, which is kind of that state where when you're not really asleep and you're not completely awake either, but this is a very healing state. This is the state that you want your brain to be in so it can repair itself. And along with that, I do the deep breathing, the breath works. So often we just breathe very shallowly. We breathe into just our upper lungs here, but when we take deep breaths, that felt good actually. When we take a deep breath into our belly, it actually calms down our mind. It tells our brain that we are safe. So doing that regularly makes it more of a habit so that you start doing it more in your real life. Now I'm like trying to breathe deep because it feels good. But yeah, it is great at calming you down. So if you ever have anxiety, if you ever are really stressed out, even if you don't meditate, do the breath work. But the meditation I highly recommend, and it takes practice. There was a time when I was like, I can't meditate. I can't just shut off my brain because it's hard. And there's never a time where my brain is completely shut off. Maybe I'll get to that theta state, maybe I won't. But when I do, maybe it's only for a couple of minutes and then I go back to kind of more awareness. But either way, just sitting quietly and breathing for 10 to 20 minutes a day, twice a day if you can, it is the biggest game changer, I'm telling you. Okay, now number 3, I'm not sure if I'm getting my numbers right because I'm doing this countdown backwards and I left all my notes at home. I'm at my parents' house right now. I'm in their garden. So I'm just doing this from scratch. That's why this is probably a little bit more rambly than usual. But it's number 3. I take shrooms. Oh, what? And no, before you start freaking out, I'm not talking about magic mushrooms. These are not mushrooms that make you hallucinate or see vivid colors and textures, even though that's kind of cool. These are functional mushrooms. These are mushrooms you can buy over the counter. You can buy them in a store, at the grocery store, probably not a Ralph's, maybe more a specialty store. But functional mushrooms are really helpful for your brain function. There's all kinds of different mushrooms. I take a blend from a brand called Fresh Cap. I'll link it below. It's not sponsored, but I love these mushrooms. And here's the thing, I quit doing this 3 times because I kept thinking, I don't really need this. I think I'm fine. But every time I quit, I felt worse. I felt more irritable and my sleep got worse and my focus got worse. So I started again, and now I think I've learned my lesson. I'm just going to keep taking these functional mushrooms. There's a documentary on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi that I learned all about the benefits of mushrooms for your brain health. It's a great documentary. I highly recommend it. And you may have seen ads for like mushroom tea. And it's just basically something very similar, except it's in a capsule form, a vegan capsule, because we're cruelty-free here. But it's in a capsule form and not a tea, because I tried the tea and I thought it was kind of gross. So I was like, I'm not going to be taking this every day. But the capsule, you just take it like a supplement. Okay, so now number 2 is something that I never did for the longest time. You're supposed to do it. It's supposed to be good, and I knew it, but I never did it. Finally, I did, and that is setting quarterly goals. So I was never a goals person in the past. Not that it was a bad idea. It was just something I never did. And I have a girlfriend who is very much into that. She sets goals, at the beginning of the year. I'm not sure if she does it quarterly, but she tracks her goals and she's very, driven that way. And I was always kind of like, oh, okay, that's, that's her thing. That's definitely not my thing. But I made it my thing because I just started studying, what successful people do. And that really is something that they all do. And the other thing is it gives you something to look forward to. This is something that's great for your mental health, is just having something to look forward to. So when you set goals and you write them down and you set a date for yourself, but it gives you a reason to get up in the morning and gives you a little bit of a purpose to strive towards something. It could be a small goal. It could be, I'm going to drink 6 glasses of water a day. It could be, I'm going to walk 3 times a week. But having these goals quarterly and writing them down has actually helped me meet these goals and has really improved my life. Okay, now number 1 is the biggest one. It is the hardest one, but it is the one that is going to make the biggest difference, hands down, and that is practicing self-love. I didn't love myself for years. I kind of hated myself, and I didn't think I was a worthy person. Yeah, I just had really, really low self-esteem, which really sucked. So what does practicing self-love look like? Well, a lot of things. First of all, stop trash talking yourself. Stop being negative toward yourself. And that's part of why I made my brain my bestie, so that I can start being nice to myself, because I'm nice to my brain when I see her as a different entity, a different person, my best friend. So instead of saying horrible things to yourself, you start saying positive things to yourself. You start pumping yourself up more. Also, you set healthy boundaries. You say no when you mean no. If there's something that is just going to drain your energy, then you say no. You might be letting someone down a little bit, but it doesn't matter if you are choosing your mental health, right? Because that's showing that you love yourself. You're choosing yourself, you're prioritizing yourself. It doesn't mean you have to be selfish or mean to anybody else, but sometimes you put everybody else first, and you are abandoning yourself, and you are putting yourself last, and then that really just depletes you and sucks your soul. Patting yourself on the back and celebrating your wins whenever you achieve anything, no matter how small, all day. And do that for more than just 2 seconds, because so often maybe we achieve something and then we say, oh, cool. And then 2 seconds later, we're on to the next problem. But actually take some time. And again, this gets it into your brain that you are doing positive things, that you are achieving things, and it reinforces that you are worthy of self-love. So make these self-love habits a daily practice. That is just non-negotiable. Okay, so now you may have heard these habits and thought, okay, cool, maybe you implement 1 or 2 of them, or hey, all of them, that would be awesome. But there are also habits that you probably need to quit. I know I had plenty. And so this video here talks about the 10 habits that I quit to be happier in midlife. So be sure to watch that and let me know what you think. And please remember, as always, you're a bad mamma jamma.